From the All Indiana Podcast Network, this is Real Talk, No Strings Attached. The podcast brought to you by the youth of Indianapolis, using this platform and their voice to touch on vital topics they believe impact their communities. Here's the Real Talk team for some real talk, no strings attached.
Are you ready? Because here we go.
Welcome to Real Talk. It's your boy, JT.
It's Nadia.
What's up? It's JS, aka Julia.
What's up? It's Eastside Kai. And today we will be talking about civic engagement. Civic engagement. So, just to start us off with the conversation, I want to ask, what does civic engagement mean to you guys?
Well, to me, it's being in touch and in tune with what's going on in your community and with your leaders and representatives and the stuff that's happening right in front of your eyes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And adding on to it, not only being in touch, but being educated with what's going on with the community and being, like I said, engaged with the community.
Mm-hmm. I agree with both of them. I have to say, for me, it's like just knowing that you're able to be in touch with both sides of the politics and everything like that.
I agree. I think the key words are in touch, engaged, and involved. Yeah.
But what's the actual definition?
Well, thank you for asking. The actual definition of civic engagement is how individuals become involved in their community to make a positive difference in their lives of their fellow citizens. Drawing on the ideology of communitarism, the active involvement of people through civic engagement seeks to secure the common good.
Cool.
A common good.
That definitely confuses everything, but
Yeah.
whatever your definition of civic engagement is, that's what it is.
I feel like everybody's definition is valid. And all of them put together is what it actually is.
When it comes down to it, all you doing is engaging with your community.
Word.
But what does that actually look like?
I think it looks like, for one, voting. You definitely need to vote for the people you believe should be in power, because if you don't do it and everybody decides that they're just not going to vote, then who's going to be in power?
No one's going to be complete chaos. Like, I get that a lot of people think they can live without rules, but let's be honest. Some of the rules that we have are kind of good to have, because, like, the fact that we're not really allowed to have, like, certain things at a certain age that's a really good thing, because they're not trying to mess us up and they're trying to make us, like, be able to grow and things like that. So I feel like the rules that we have are really good for certain things, depending on which rule it is. Or law.
And I like how in the Google definition it says that, it's all for the purpose of a common good of a community. We're trying to constantly progress and grow our communities. And so being engaged, I think a lot of people, when you look at it from like an exclusively political lens, it can seem very tasky, like, oh, I have to go out and vote, or, oh, I have to attend city council meetings, or, oh, I have to, but I think when you look at it from like a social standpoint of like, no, I'm not just in the political scene, but like I'm helping out at church, or I'm helping out at the community center, or I'm helping out at school. Like, I think these are all things that could count as civically engaged.
Or just something as simple as meeting your neighbors, because I know a lot of people, especially in these newer generations, they don't know any of their neighbors. I know me personally, I know maybe one of my neighbors in my whole neighborhood. And I feel like that's something that needs to change, because being in touch with the people that you are surrounded with can build friendships, and y'all can work together to improve your community.
Definitely.
I definitely agree with that, because, like, for me, like she said, like before, like back in the day, even though I was like there, it was like I knew nobody. But now, like from me going outside or walking my friends to the bus, or walking like this adorable little girl to the bus each morning, or taking her off the bus, it has definitely changed a lot. Like my big perspective in life with how I'm able to just like socialize and realize that, wow, I actually have neighbors who are pretty chill and who don't just do nothing.
Yeah, what I'm hearing is you can't necessarily be engaged with your community unless you know what is in your community. You can't do it by yourself, really. It takes unity. It takes everybody in that community unifying and becoming one, if anything.
It takes a village.
Yeah.
It very much so does, especially if you want progress and change.
Yeah.
If you are able to identify things that are wrong in your community, no one person can change those things.
You
have to unite.
Work together.
Have you ever covered a carpet stain with a rug, ignored a leaky faucet, pretended your half-painted living room is supposed to look like that? Well, you're not alone. We've all got unfinished home projects. But there's an easier way. Thumbtack is the app that makes it easier to care for your home. Pull out your phone and in just a few taps, search, chat, and book highly rated pros right in your neighborhood. Download Thumbtack and start caring for your home the easier way.
So on a ladder, what, if anything, what do y'all think are some things that bring our community down, whether it's gun violence in a whole, or simply just not being engaged with your community? Because even that could just bring your community down.
I think bad policy brings a community down. When you think of things like redlining or the Permitless Carry Act, I think all of these things have had drastic impacts on our community, or which schools get more funding than other schools, which communities get more investments. I think all of these things have impacts on communities, which communities have food deserts, or what I like to call food apartheids. I think all of those things impact the way a community is able to thrive or not thrive.
Definitely. And also, like Jeremiah said, gun violence and just violence in general, because if people are sitting here killing the people that they live around, or people in different communities, because whether it's gang violence or they just felt like killing someone, people are losing their lives for very dumb reasons, and it's impacting the community heavily.
That actually reminds me of something that I think happened like 2016 with Halloween, actually, since it is coming up. I will say, like, that whole killer clown thing that happened in the U.S.
Oh my God.
Let me tell y'all, like,
flashbacks.
Like that right there, they're actually like, it was actually just random people dressed as killer clowns to rob people, kill people for no reason, just because they wanted to, because they had the free will to, and it was like so many people and nobody got caught, basically, all because it was just so easy for them to do that. Like, they had these weird names, so they couldn't even know who it was. Like, it was just terrible. And I'm like, okay, so that's where some of this also happened. Like, they're killing their own people just because they want to, because they think it's fun, or because something happened in their past life that they can't control, because they didn't really have that like community to help them out with it, so they're taking out on their community themselves.
I did not hear about that at all, not gonna lie.
No, I did. I just thought it was just another trend, but
I did not hear
it was
about
definitely
that.
real. I saw it on the news. I'm like, okay,
Turns out it wasn't.
okay.
That's actually insane.
Yeah.
They literally tried to be like Michael Myers.
So what was it, a social media trend?
Or was it people like actually?
It's definitely started on social media.
It kind of started on social media, but it became more of like, mostly first start off with serial killers that were in your neighborhood that nobody knew about. And they knew that Halloween was the best time because you could scare little kids, let's be honest. And they knew that killer clowns are like, okay, it's a costume for adults to wear, things like that. So they took it from that, and they went from just like one person doing it and putting it on social media to now it being like almost everybody who wants to kill somebody or who has enemies just go and do it. And the way this generation, the way this community works now, it's like if you see one person doing it, you're gonna want to jump in on that trend sometimes, depending on what it is.
So to tie this back to civic engagement, obviously social media has the influence or the power to influence people to do obviously negative things, to kill people. But also, if you see someone doing it, you want to do it, including voting. So if I see someone on social media and they got the cute little sticker, I want the cute little sticker that says I voted or something. Or like I see someone on social media, like they posted up with the mayor or the city council president. Like I want to post up with the mayor. So if you're doing good things in the community, it's very good to like, you know, spread that and raise awareness about that. Share it so people can know. Mm-hmm. You know, don't be posting you killing people, trying to be Michael Myers. Don't do that.
Respectfully, please don't.
Let's go outside and vote.
Yes, let's go to the polls.
If you personally can't vote, but you know somebody who can and they're not, convince them to vote. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And if you're of age to work the voting polls, you can also do that as well. Mm-hmm. Keep yourself busy so you're not trying to be Michael Myers.
Yeah, not convince them. Well, yeah, convince them, but influence them by what you do. Yes. Influence them by your own actions. If you're not voting, what makes you think that if you tell somebody to vote, they're going to go vote?
No, I'm saying if you're not of age to vote.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
You can educate yourself. Don't just go vote for somebody.
Don't.
Oh yeah.
Don't just go circling something.
Yeah. Please don't do that.
Know who you voting for and know what they can do for your community.
Know what they want for your community. Know what them being in power means for your community. Mm-hmm. And the things that they know also that the things that they say might just be lies and to get you to vote for them.
Say it.
Yes.
Because a lot of all politicians lie.
At some point, to get what they want. They do some dirty work.
What Granny say?
Dirty work.
That is true, but half the time, the people who use dirty work don't even get inside the place.
It definitely comes. The dirt that they do definitely comes to light. You know, especially as we see with
as Darman said,
following people around, making sure you get underneath all the little dirty spots in the bathrooms, anywhere they get in that dirt.
As Darman said, everything that happens in the dark always comes to light.
So you see. So you see.
So you see.
Politicians, we looking at you.
We see you.
We see you.
We see you.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think.
Go ahead. Are you good?
It's very good for like other young people to share like why they wanted to become civically engaged. You know, I think a lot of young people, we do see the woes and the tribulations in our community, or it's always this generation this or just this generation that, but we have the power to change our own narrative. Like we have the power to control our own narrative. So we see something wrong, like we can change it, y'all, ourselves. We don't have to wait for no politician or no elected leader. Like we can do it ourselves.
We really can. And I feel like a lot of people don't see that they really have the power. We have the power. As long as we not take advantage of that, but take control of that power, we can literally change anything. We can make anything any way we want it to be because we have the power. And voting gives us that much more power.
Yeah. And speaking of change, I wanted to ask, because as we all know, 2020 was one of the worst years, not only because of the pandemic, but because of everything that happened and effects of the pandemic. I wanted to ask, how do y'all think that has changed communities, not only changed the community, but the people in the community?
I think, yeah, a whole bunch. But the main thing is a lot of interactions have been moved to social media and online because during COVID, you couldn't really go see your friends that much. And if you did, you had to be very careful, very protected. You couldn't even really leave the house at some points.
It was definitely restricted.
Definitely. And I think especially some of the newer generation, like the newer generations, they were watching TV, YouTube, maybe playing games, but never really going outside that much because we had to stay in the house. And social media definitely made a huge impact on that.
I think there was, just as there were like negative impacts of the pandemic and everything that happened in 2020, I think it also, again, tying this back to civic engagement, there was also just this overload of access to information. So like I could see all this information about people who were running in my district or people who were thinking about running in my district or people who had ran and what kind of policy they put in place. So if you were ever a young person who maybe you couldn't vote at that time because of your age, but if you were you just wanted to become civically engaged. You wanted to become civically aware. You had access to all this information. And I think the pandemic really, for lack of a better word, like amplified it. Like it made people more aware of just how much access to information. Because like Nadia said, everybody was running to social media because we couldn't see each other in person. So if you want to check up on your friends or you want to check up on family, you go to Instagram and see how they doing. So I think just a lot of like political organizations were doing a lot of like campaigns and everything about it, like trying to raise awareness about certain bills, policies, laws, how they impacted people. So I think that was one of the positive impacts.
Also, along with that, I feel like, I know for me personally, I watched the news more because it was on a lot in my living room. So whenever I came downstairs, most of the time there was news on the TV. So I was looking at the news and I saw some of the ridiculous things that, like the people, for example, the presidential election, all the stuff and drama with that. I'm not even going to go into that. But I saw a lot of that stuff, the protests, and a lot of stuff about COVID in general.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like that's how I was sort of engaged during the pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely. And not only, rather than COVID, it's a new decade.
New decade.
Since 2020 started, we're literally in a new decade. Things are changing. Instead of that face-to-face, we're in a community where face-to-face is no longer the regular. We're on our phones. We're on Zoom. Like, we're doing things rather than just being in a place with each other.
Rather than being there physically.
Yep.
Definitely.
They say opposites attract. That's why the Sleep Number Smart Bed is the best bed for couples. You can each choose what's right for you, whenever you like. You like a bed that feels firm, but they want soft? Sleep Number does that. You want to sleep cooler, while they like to feel warm. Sleep Number does that too. Sleep Number Smart Beds also learn how you sleep and provide you with personalized insights to help you sleep even better. You have to feel it to believe it. Find the bed that's for both of you, only at a Sleep Number store. 9 out of 10 couples say they sleep better on a Sleep Number Smart Bed. Time to catch some Z's. J.D. Power ranks Sleep Number number 1 in customer satisfaction with mattresses purchased in-store. And now during Sleep Number's biggest sale of the year, save 50% on the Sleep Number Limited Edition Smart Bed, plus special financing for a limited time. For J.D. Power 2023 award information, visit jdpower.com/awards. Only at a Sleep Number store or sleepnumber.com. See store for details.
So Nadia, you kind of mentioned during 2020 seeing the protests and the pandemic and the election, how it kind of made you want to become a little bit more involved and aware. So I was just wondering, for all you guys, like, have there been any recent or past social events that have made you want to become more involved?
I feel like
more or less involved?
Definitely when I was seeing like what happened with George Floyd and the Black Lives Matter protest that exploded from that, I felt like I wanted to be a part of that because there is so much police brutality towards Black people and brutality towards Black people in general, not just by police. And I feel like that needs to be changed.
Mm-hmm.
I definitely agree with that. Like, with the All Lives Matter, Black Lives Matter, Blue Lives Matter, like, I feel like with all lives matter, the Blue Lives Matter, they're trying to take the attention away from what just happened with George Floyd, or what happened back in the day with Breonna Taylor, or what happened with all these people who got killed over police brutality and over just police thinking that they're doing something wrong because they're Black. They literally killed Breonna Taylor because she wouldn't live in their apartment because there was no reason for them to come to her apartment. They killed George Floyd for barely any reason that was necessary to be killed for. And the cop got off easy, let's be honest. One person got killed, the cop, instead he's got off easy.
If that was a Black cop and a white man, we all know how different that would have been.
Mm-hmm.
You're talking about George Floyd?
Yeah.
Well, the cop didn't get off. He was found guilty.
He got sentenced.
He was found guilty, yeah.
But he also didn't get life, or he didn't get killed.
No, the cops and Breonna Taylor, we got to fact check that, but it took a minute. There was like a whole, arrest the cops that killed Breonna Taylor movement. Like, we get justice every once in a while, but even then it still is like
iffy.
Yeah.
Even then the justice doesn't really feel like justice because especially because the amount of people who are like, oh, the cop didn't do anything wrong, blah, blah, blah.
But what if that was you?
Yeah.
Then it would be a
What
different
if that
story.
was your family?
Mm-hmm.
Then it would be a different story.
JT, what's yours? And then I want to ask another question.
I'm going to go all the way back to the civil rights movement with the separate but not equal.
Mm-hmm.
The way that the community came together with Martin Luther King with the March of Selma, that was epitome of what was going through my head. Because if communities can come together with like they did back then, our community is going to strengthen by itself.
Big facts.
Because not only did the communities come together, it was different communities. It was, I got to check my facts, but it may have been some white people too. It may have been. You don't know.
There was definitely some white abolitionists.
Exactly. So communities come together. We're making change every step of the way. It doesn't take a lot to change a community. It takes step by step by step.
Oh, yeah.
You had Mexican Americans, like in the labor struggles, like you definitely had like cross-racial struggles.
It was a whole civil rights movement.
Yeah. But I also wanted to ask, a lot of the reason why we say it's so important for our communities to come together is because we do want justice and we do want all these positive things. So I want to ask, like, what does justice look like for y'all? Because Nadia, you said something really important. Like, even when we do get justice, it still does not feel like justice. And so I feel like we have like these definitions or these notions or what justice looks like. And we're told, oh yeah, justice is, you know, the family of a victim of police brutality getting $60 million in the settlement money. Or that's justice. Or justice is that officer getting locked up for a set amount of years and then being able to, you know, go back and do whatever he wants. Or justice is suspending that cop, but then after a certain amount of years, like he gets to go back in the department. So what does justice look like for y'all? It doesn't necessarily have to be after police brutality, but in general.
I feel like, to me, justice, that's a very hard word to define, I feel like, because it depends on the circumstance. Because in some instances, you would say, oh, that looks like justice to me because what you wanted to happen happened. But you have to think about it from the other person's point of view also sometimes, because it's just about the perspective. A lot of the people who are victims of police brutality, their families think that the cops should go to jail for the rest of their lives or whatever, especially if it's a murder case. And then the family of the police are like, oh, it was an accident, blah, blah, blah. So I feel like it really just depends on who you are and what side you stand on, what justice is.
I believe not only related to, you know, what were our rights and, you know, with police and stuff, but I think justice is keeping the promises that were historically made to us. It's not just going back to police. It says it in the Declaration of Independence, and that's what's crazy. All men are created equal. It's obvious that we're not. Because what police are doing to black people, what police are doing to minorities is simply saying that we're not created equal, so they treat us differently. They treat white people differently when it comes down to that. So we should be allowed to, you know, live out the promises that were made to us. We should be allowed to have a gun. We should be allowed to speak. We should be allowed free speech. That's what the promise. You made us that promises. Just keep that promises. That's what justice is.
When the country was made. That's a very good point also, because there's so many things in the Declaration that would not be like acceptable. Not just the Declaration, but like the rights, like
Bill of Rights.
The Bill of Rights, all the amendments. I feel like those are kind of iffy too, because
I mean, at this point, they're just papers. I mean, you're not.
They're just papers.
You're not keeping them promises.
Nobody follows up with that for real.
Yeah. But it's also important to remember when all these documents were made, black people were not seen as human.
Exactly.
So
at all
men are created equal. Y'all not men.
Especially in schools.
Yeah.
Like we got to go to a different school.
Yeah.
That get a different education.
Yeah. What about you, J. Scott?
I have to say,
justice.
Definitely, justice, all that. Like I feel like, I don't know. I feel like when it comes to all down to it, it's definitely gotten to the point where it needs to happen. It needs to happen sooner or later. If it doesn't happen now, it's like, because it's this new generation. Let's be honest. With this new generation, we have we're the next people coming up. we're the next rise. We can be the next presidents, next government, all that. But the way that it's going on right now, let's be honest. We're letting the adults take all the course. But let's be honest. Once we get to that point, we ain't gonna know what to do. So it's definitely needs to happen now.
I feel like if justice is not given to us, this generation is more likely to take it for ourselves. Because I feel like we're less afraid to go for what we want and fight for what we want. Especially this, like, I don't know what generation it is, but the generation that comes after us.
Gen A.
I'm glad you knew, 'cause
I didn't know. Like, how they were fighting for the, like, LGBTQ rights and how they were protesting. Like, there was 10-year-olds, 11-year-olds out in these protests. And I think that's just beautiful.
Yeah.
Especially with, like, the alphas and everything.
Generation
Like-
Alpha, that's what it is.
Yeah. I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
This Gen A is going to be a whole mess.
Nah.
No
it's
offense,
up
y'all.
to
They'll
us,
be
though.
aight.
It's definitely up to us, though. It
They'll
won't be
be
a
aight.
mess if we're not a
We
mess.
gotta
Oh,
lead
yeah,
them.
it's just
They'll
definitely
be
the Gen
aight.
Z. You know what I'm saying? We
We
got
have
this.
to. I feel like we have to lead them to greatness.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But that involves us being clear about what we want.
Exactly. We got to have
It
clear
involves
intentions
us being
before.
great.
We got to leave them with something. Lead it with something.
Just
Something
little.
better.
Right.
Okay, here we go.
Real talk show. Real talk, it's the real talk show.
Hey.
This is Real Talk. No strings attached. Be sure to like and subscribe to this podcast. And be sure to check out other great podcasts on the All Indiana Podcast Network. Online now at allindianapodcastnetwork.com.